Mujahideen infiltrating along the river found that, with work stopped on the land, food supplies were badly disrupted. And they already faced natural hazards that divided Mujahideen groups one from another. The logistics of moving men and munitions under these conditions severely handicapped the ability of many rebel groups to stage sustained operations. Patrolling helicopters had another role too. Thousands of butterfly anti-personnel mines were dropped to disrupt Mujahideen movements. Soviet strike jets added their firepower, called in here in retaliation for a Mujahideen ambush. But it was usually the villagers that suffered, not the rebels. In a lull, they move on towards another objective. Unlike the Viet Cong, which was created to fight a guerrilla war in South Vietnam, the Afghan resistance had grown spontaneously, but it lacked the unifying equivalent of a Vo Nguyen Gia with practical battle experience. And this lack of a central command prevented strategic planning and the efficient use of resources. Mujahideen lay an ambush in the strategic Salang Pass. Most understood the shock value of the ambush, relying on it as their basic tactic.
Background cover, background cover.
They were reasonably good at this form of action, usually targeting oil convoys as they hurried south to Kabul. This time, Afghan troops, whose lorry has been stopped, prepare to surrender. The Mujahideen order them to throw down their weapons. A shaven head indicates a young conscript. If he doesn't join the rebels, he'll be escorted to a Pakistani refugee camp. In their war of the roads, the Mujahideen destroyed thousands of trucks along this vital supply route, causing severe fuel shortages in the capital. A glance at the instruction book and two rebels prepare to launch a rocket attack. In this most casual of strikes, rockets were aimed merely by being propped against rocks and fired by wires stuck to the casing with airstrip. This haphazard approach meant that sometimes the effects were simply a nuisance.
1, 2, 3.
Sometimes they hit civilian areas. But they also hit the airport, disrupting the Soviet Union's vital air links. And burning fuel meant that more convoys would have to run the gauntlet of the now infamous Salang Pass. But the most spectacular result of one of these hit-and-run raids was the strike on a SAM missile dump at Karga, just outside Kabul. 40 people were killed as the long crescendo of explosions devastated the site. The Soviets denied it was the result of a rebel attack, but later took steps to improve security. After 20 minutes, the massive series of explosions grew to a climax. the approaches to Anava, an important Soviet-Afghan base in the Panjshir Valley. It was from here that counterinsurgency measures were planned and carried out. Heavily bunkered, their defensive attitude soon became regarded as a drain on manpower, so Afghan troops were given a greater part as Soviet thoughts turned gradually to withdrawal. And Afghanistan's often miserable weather sapped the morale of the troops charged with mounting those sweeps. At first, Soviet patrols moved without much skill or imagination. Like all convoys, they were reduced to the speed of the slowest member. Rare pictures of the Soviet column reconnoitering the Panjshir graphically show the difficulties presented by the terrain and the easy targets these slow-moving convoys made for an ambush. In time, Soviet infantry firepower was sharply increased by the introduction of the AGS-17 automatic grenade launcher. And though this ensured that as many as 10 rebels died for every soldier, their own toll was already sapping the Kremlin's resolve at home. But it was here that the Soviets met the rebel leader who most readily grasped the more advanced theories of guerrilla war, Ahmad Shah Massoud. Moving quickly from simple hit-and-run tactics, he organized mobile forces to counterattack Soviet assault forces and draw units into side valleys, diluting their effort. He observed their advance from high ground, ambushing them at bottlenecks that slowed the advancing columns, creating stationary targets. Ahmad Shah Massoud had quickly proved to be a popular and charismatic leader. Although he learned guerrilla war from books, he became an effective, shrewd strategist who was undefeated by the Soviets in 9 campaigns. He graduated from hit-and-run attacks to the capture of strategic government outposts outside his own area, starting with his assault on Peshgur in 1985. Such forts were defended by several hundred troops armed with howitzers and dug-in tanks and protected by minefields, sandbagged emplacements and barbed wire networks. Showing a mature grasp of tactics, his men outflanked the defenses before breaching them. Massoud's success stemmed from being one of only 2 rebel leaders who organized full-time, fully paid, properly trained guerrilla forces. Called motoraks, they were the resistance's first truly mobile units, allowing Massoud to concentrate forces against the most important garrisons and take them. Equally important, he established a unique esprit de corps, as a senior aide explained.
Leadership is very important in a guerrilla warfare. He has become and proved to be a charismatic guerrilla leader of Afghans inside Afghanistan.
He also shrewdly assessed Soviet strengths as well as their weaknesses.
When they invaded Afghanistan, they came with very heavy weapons.